Bada bing. Fast forward to 00:00, and you will be able to jump right into episode 83 of Slay. I'm trying to point to it down there. Now I'm waiting for my streaming to connect and my wonderful, fantastic, splendid live viewers to come and join me today. We got all kinds of good stuff going on. Lots of streaming going on. We haven't connected. Okay, we're connected to the Facebook. I better quit that. Start that. Ba-bing. I see someone on the Facebook. Screwface. All right, here we go. Got that. Oh, man, I forgot all kinds of shit. All kinds of shit going on. It's been a pretty stressful day. Hi, Steve. Hi, Dawn. Cobalt, how are you? Sean, hello, everyone. Look at that, right out of the gate. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch all represented. It has been a bonkers day of writing. What else? That's pretty much it. That's all I do these days. Just a bonkers day of writing. Julie Press in the house. Julie Press is in the house. That is all I can say at this particular time. That's all I can say at this time. Edward Rocco, Recluse Mage. Look at all you savages. You're so fantastic. Every single one of you, I swear to God. Don't be looking at my junk. Swear to God. Swear to God. I'm trying to get this extra monitor. Scott Aiken, what's happening? Rich, no. Lord of the Rings girl, hello, everyone. Brian Leach, semi better than Ezra. Hey, man, the rain's fantastic. It's just raining in San Diego, and I love it, love it, love it. Orin Patch, what's good? What's all good in the hood? Dr. Danny Bigger, PhD. How are you, sir? I'm pumped up. Now, this isn't a high action episode, but it is setting up the Jim Jammabangalang. That's a terrible phrase. I tried to make up a phrase right off the top of my head. Kind of make up my own catchphrase. That's the Jim Jammabangalang. It sounds dumb as crap. So we'll work on some new ones. A.B. Sigler in the house. Pam Weber in the house. Lovely, lovely bunch of peoples. When we get to the fives, I'm going to read you the housekeeping stuff. Let you know what's going on. I've had a terrible cold for the past, I would say, 5 days. So the voice is not completely up to snuff, but I will do my best. Cobalt says starting to snow in Massachusetts. That's like my family in Michigan. Like, when are you going to move back to Michigan? And I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen because I don't like the cold. I don't like snow. I like all of you people, but I do not like the things that are associated with you people. Okay. I was literally writing up to about 5 minutes ago. So there's a couple things that we don't have completely set up, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Again, if you were just watching this after the fact, if you don't want to hear me jabber jab with the audience, fast forward to 0000 with a colon thrown in there. You always should check your colon. It's a good thing to know what's going on with your colon. Mouse is giving me tons of fits. I got the Apple Magic Mouse, and usually it's fantastic. But now it's literally missing. I can't find it. There it is. There we go. All right. Chris Grell's in the house. Chris Grell and I have been playing a little Fortnite as of late. It's pretty fun. Although we do want to murder many 12-year-olds in real life. We try to murder them in digital life. It doesn't always work. We would like to murder them in real life because they beat us. And they're probably dummies anyways. Let's be honest. You'll never amount to anything, kid. Swear to God, you're going to get destroyed. This world's going to chew you up, and it's going to spit you out. Housekeeping, ladies and gentlemen, all kinds of good stuff going on. Tonight's live read is Slay episode 83, Swamp Water. Wanted to call it Bong Water, but it just didn't quite fit. After the episode, our deep cuts is on info dumps and exposition. How do authors give you background info without dragging the story down? That is all going to go on. Of course, let's go through the usual. Nope, can't do that. Go to chat. That doesn't work either. Go to main. There we go. You want to be signed up If you've got questions you want to send us or things you want to hear us talk about in Deep Cuts, email that to info@emptyset. You should SIG text to 855-955-5095 if you've not already. Already 1,000 strong, closing in 1,100 people who just get updates from me when we go live, what books are coming up. We just announced a new book that came out yesterday. We'll talk about that probably after the show if I don't have time to do it here. And the newsletter. Also announced the story that's in that new anthology in the newsletter. If you're on YouTube, click like, hit the fucking bell, bro. Bro, slap that bell. Bro, subscribe, all that other good shit. And let's see, we've got Crypt Book 2 is now, I would say, 99% done. Second draft, 98% done. I've got a couple more chapters to write. I'd hope to be done before I leave for Florida tomorrow, go visit my parents. Didn't happen. As soon as I get those 5 or 6 chapters buttoned up, we're down to spell check. And then it's off to the military advisors and Big John Viscara. Sunday, February 9th, Slay episode 82, Three's Company, hit the feed. Tuesday, February 4th, actually it might have been this morning, might have gone. Deep Cuts, episode 36, Question Scott's Characters, Ask Scott. It's pretty damn funny. You guys might want to check that out. Of course, you can get that in your podcast feed, or you can go to scottsigler.com/subscribe, subscribe to the feed, or you can just go to scottsigler.com and find that episodes. Tonight's episode, Swamp Water, will hit the feed. We had a printer breakdown. Anyways, and then Tuesday, February 18th, tonight's Deep Cuts, how do authors give background info without boring you to tears? We'll go live in the feed. Wednesday, February 19th, next Wednesday, that of course will be Slay episode 84. Yeah, that's right, 84. And A is going to ask me about my favorite books and stories growing up. How did they inspire me? I think that's going to be kind of awesome. And then, of course, got to go back to Maine. And March 1st is the usual junkie party. Steve the Iceberg, Ricky Berg. That's his logo. And he does a junkie party. You'll be able to join that at bit.ly/junkiesparty. You might be seeing ads there now on Bitly. We're going to have to take a look into that. But if there is an ad, it's like you click that, go to that link, you click through one time. Brian Leach, what's up? Richard Bennett, no, I am not going to be going to the Daytona 500. I'm not a big auto sport guy. It's not really my jam. I like cars, but it's never really been my thing. Let's see if I can get this working before we go. Okay, books. Let's get rid of those dogs. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. That's not it. That's not it. I think upper right. Now we go to window capture. Window capture window should be Google Chrome. Boom. Hello. And there it is. This is the latest thing that I have. Hey, Ma, how are you? This is the latest thing that I have out. This is Combat Monsters. It is available at Amazon.com. Actually, you know what? Let's show you guys the good stuff. There it is. scottsigler.com/combat-monsters. You can see it's awesome cover. This is World War II horror stories. My story, Svarthund, is in there. And there's a bunch of other stuff. Jonathan Mayberry. Let's see. Peter Kleins, Tanya Huff, David Mack, Jeremy Robinson, Catherine Stein, Harry fucking Turtledove, y'all, the king of alternative history fiction, Jane Yolen, and a few others. But you guys can go pick that up if you ever mind to. It is available on Amazon. It's available in Kindle, and you can get it in print at Amazon. And of course, as all things, it's available as Audible. And I did not do any of the reading for this. You will not hear my dulcet, mellifluous, sonorous, seductive tones on this one. Okay. That is all of the record keeping. Hopefully my voice will now hold out for the entire thing. Let's go to Maine. It's time to get started. I did lie to you about the 00000 time. So we're going to jump right into this. Yep, very busy these days. All right. First of all, let's make sure we've got audio. We've got audio. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Do I look good? Oh. You can't be having the side chair in there. That's not cool. That's not cool. All right. Let us Start driving. Hold on a second, guys. I'm having tons of problems with the computer today. It looks like my Schwarmy sound is not working. Let me just take one look at that real quick. A's downstairs screaming. We'll do it live. Let me just check this. It's very good for my pacing. Signal place audio clips. Hold tight, you guys. It'll be worth it. I swear to God. I swear to God. It's going to be worth it. I don't know if it's on or not. All right, fuck it. Here we go. Previously on Slay. A new job showed up in Bafamal's big binder of bounties. 200 gold pieces to eliminate a pack of monsters known as Lagrounes. But there's two odd things about this job. Lagrounes are southern monsters, rarely, if ever, seen in a Midwestern Rust Belt city like Lumencia. Something's about to go down under the Bendelson Bridge. Sorry, you guys, this all got jacked up. We're going to start it over again. Here we go. Gonna have to wing it. Do it live. Here we go. Previously on Slay. A new job showed up in Bafamal's big binder of bounties. 200 gold pieces to tackle a pack of monsters known as Lagrounes. But there's two odd things about this job. Number one, Lagrounes are southern monsters, rarely, if ever, seen in a Midwestern Rust Belt city like Lumencia. The second thing is the job was placed by Cantrell, Lincoln's friend and former lawyer. Why are these monsters in Lumencia? And why is Cantrell involved? Lincoln, Billy, and Dragon are in the new van on their way to the area known as the Marshlands to find out, while Magda supports from the Old Stone Church. Something is about to go down under the Bendelson Bridge, where an old acquaintance of Lincoln's will soon say hello. Babe, I'm having a tough time here. Mark down, I'm going to have to redo that intro, babe, okay? Here we go. Schwarmy sound, schwarmy sound. How do people drive like this? In daylight, with all of this sun. In the passenger seat, Billy hunched over the gunnery yoke and targeting screen. They were normally recessed into the glove compartment, but popped out with the press of a hidden button. Dragon had her little feet on Billy's lap and her paws on the yoke. Pew pew, cockroaches, Billy sneered. Do you want to play games? Okay, I'll play with you. He made machine gun noises. Dragon barked excitedly in time. Put the dog in the back, Lincoln said. She's going to accidentally fire the damn thing and waste meshwork rounds on that F-150 next to us. Guy's probably some dipshit accountant who has to finally report to the office because he can't work for home. Or whatever. Lincoln always worked for home. Lincoln always worked from home. Kind of. At least he had since leaving the Bastion. Because fuck those assholes. Link, chill, Billy said. The safety's still on, and her name is Dragon, not that dog. Lincoln glanced right. Which one's the safety again? Billy pointed to a red switch on top of the yoke. Dragon barked and bapped her paws on the yoke, her tail wagging madly. She wanted Billy to keep making the machine gun noises. She bapped again. This time, her paws came down on the safety. The switch clicked, then lit up red. Magda's recorded voice came over the van's radio. This is the mess is now active. Click, clack, bitches. Oh, crap, Billy said. He flipped the safety back on. Dragon, you better get in the back. He lifted her, turned and put her on the floor behind the 2 bucket seats. Sorry about that, Link. He hit a button on the glove compartment control panel. The joystick slid back in. The glove compartment shut itself. It looked normal as fuck. Ariella knew more contractors than a mob-connected casino magnate. Add in Magda's skill with weapons and meshwork, and boom, a crowd control vehicle extraordinaire. I love this van, Lincoln said. What's MESS stand for again? That's the motherfucker eliminator shooting system, Billy said. We're going to put that on a t-shirt. We're going to push units with it. If I can get the right hype beast to collab. Lincoln frowned. Hype beast? What kind of monster is that? And what does push units mean? Billy laughed. It's not a monster, Link. It's an influencer. Someone will wear the shirts on social media so their followers will see. If that happens and those followers want to buy it, then... He let the words hang in the air, a gleam in his eye. Then Magda will sell a lot of them, Lincoln said. That's what push units means. Billy smiled and nodded. There you go. Look at you, picking up the youth culture. Next thing you know, we'll have you dropping Kendrick Lamar bars. Lincoln didn't know what a Lamar bar was, and he wasn't about to ask. Billy practically bounced in his seat. Man, I am fucking pumped, he said. You're not going to regret this, Link. I'm ready. It felt great to see him so excited. Billy had been working hard. When it came to combat training, not many people could hang with Lincoln. Billy took all Lincoln dished out and kept on coming. Even when he was outclassed, he brought all he had. Billy wouldn't be standing guard or pushing a room service cart this time. He'd be a full part of the operation. An operation that paid 200 gold. Cantrell was caught up in something where he couldn't call his friend. He had to put a bounty in Bafamal's big binder. That just didn't make sense. Sure, Lincoln had threatened to beat Cantrell's ass down in Cordis, but hadn't that been before Link went to Tapestry Travesty and tanned the hide of Artie and his buddies? I don't need selling. If love for your friends didn't mean beating the salty piss out of those who fucked with your friends, then what was love at all? But he was getting distracted. He needed to focus on the task at hand. The Lagrounes are nocturnal, Lincoln said. Magda's going to pop into my head in a bit and give us a rundown. But while it's still daylight, I want to lock this into your noggin. Whatever happens, do not use your powers. We can't take that chance. Billy leaned back, cast Lincoln the stink eye. Hey, Billy, how about you crank one out, but don't actually touch your junk, he said in a mockery of Lincoln's voice. Or, hey, Billy, how about you make me a goddamn delicious sandwich, but don't use any bread or hot sauce or Frau Munda's cheese dip. When the fuck do I get to actually use these powers that you keep telling me are next level? God damn this kid and his impatience. Baby steps will get you there, Lincoln said. We got to make sure Vestinian doesn't catch wind of you. Okay? Not yet. That bastard had ruined Magda. Someday, Lincoln would shove a 12-gauge shotgun up that fucktard's poop chute and pull the trigger. Then you gotta let me train on my magic, Billy said. More somber now. More serious now. I mean, right? Vestinian is this badass and he wants to kill me. When are you gonna let me train? The same damn argument every week, it seemed. Soon, Lincoln said. We got to find the right setup. Billy slumped against the door, stared out the passenger window. Soon, he said. That's what you always say. Lincoln decided to let it go. That's what you always say sounded like words coming out of a 10-year-old's mouth, not the mouth of someone Billy's age. The kid was so advanced in some ways, so behind in others. Bridge is coming up, Lincoln said. That's our spot. Shitbird is scouting it now. So how about you stop pouting and get your game face on? It's early, but other bounty hunters could be here. I need you to keep control of Dragon. Billy sighed. He sat up straighter. Yeah, I hear you, he said. So what the hell is a Lagroune anyway? Swarmy sound. A Lagroune is a conjured creature, Magda said. That means it's not alive, little B. When its purpose is complete, their conjurer turns them back into filament. So you can go Rambo and not First Blood. Got me? Magda saw what Lincoln saw, heard what Lincoln heard, which meant she saw the orb Lincoln held in his hands. She saw Billy and the old ruins of Bendelson Swamp. Truly one of the strangest areas of Lumencia, or any other city for that matter. Rambo, not First Blood, Link said. What the hell does that mean? John Rambo only killed one guy in First Blood, Billy said. That was a serious movie, nom for Best Drama at Golden Globes. Oscars didn't give it any knobs. Stuck up prudes if you ask me. But after the first flick, it got campier. Helicopter gunships and bows that go boom and knives and my man walking away from explosions without flinching and shit. See, because the series that goes so over the top, it's a common misperception that he killed a bunch of people in the first movie, but he didn't. He killed only one guy in First Blood, and really that wasn't even him because Homeslice fell out of a helicopter. Who doesn't put their seatbelt on a goddamn helicopter? I know I do, but in the sequels, he kills more and more dudes. By Rambo, the fourth movie in that series, he wrecks 254 people. Keep in mind, though, that for the fifth, shut the fuck up, Lincoln said. He looked from Billy into the orb, something he did when he wanted to speak to Magda directly, even though she heard everything he said. I'll ask again, what the hell does that mean? It means Little B doesn't have to pull his I don't like killing things bullshit, Magda said. He can whoop ass on Lagrounes and not really be hurting anyone. Lincoln sighed and shook his head. Why don't you guys just talk like normal people? He looked at Billy. Why does everything have to be a movie reference? Billy's lip curled into an exaggerated sneer. They drew First Blood, not me. Magda stifled a laugh. She didn't want to exacerbate Link's irritation. If Billy keeps talking, it'll be dark before he's finished, Lincoln said. Mags, finish your data dump. While she would rather be in the field with them both, she didn't mind working out from her tricked-out workshop. The scroll rack alone kept her research organized and easily accessible. They're amphibious humanoids, Magda said. Long-ass arms and long-ass legs that end in clawed hands and feet. They can swim like nobody's business, and they can breathe underwater, which means don't let them drag you in. Got it? Billy nodded. He was excited but nervous. Good. He needed to take this seriously. So why are they here? He asked. I get we get paid to take them out, but if they're conjured, who conjured them? And what are they conjured for? Magda had made zero headway on that front. We don't know who conjured them, she said. There's versions of them all over the world. Some think Millicent Patrick saw one. Billy's eyebrows rose. No shit? Who the fuck is Millicent Patrick? Lincoln asked. She designed a creature in The Creature from the Black Lagoon, Billy said. Didn't get credit for it, though. Some dude did. Billy's movie knowledge ran deep, and Magda loved that about him. Lots of names for this kind of monster around the world, Magda said. Kappa, merman, deep ones, were-alligators, sea spawn, macaw, riverborn, endam kenowet, lots of variations on shape and size. Lagrounes are mostly found in Louisiana, Florida, and southwestern wetlands. Now, they're usually conjured by Chinakes, which are kind of goblin native to swamps, particularly North American swamps. Chinakes usually look like a pile of moss with glowing eyes, so if you see one of those, take it out. As for why the Lagrounes are here, I don't know. They're called upon for murder or revenge. They'll kill anyone along a waterway. They've been used in war to both blockade rivers. They've been used in war to both blockade river entrances or to break up river blockades. I'm afraid that's all I got to tell you. She didn't have much, and what she did have didn't make sense. Lagrounes and Winter did not get along. So what were they doing in a Rust Belt city? What was in the marsh that would cause someone to conjure such beasties? The place was a waterlogged wreck. Bendelson had once been a little fishing town on the outskirts of the city on the Lumencia River. Over a century ago, Arnie Cranwedge built the Lumencia Dam, which slowly flooded Bendelson. The residents had moved on, leaving dozens of buildings to rot in the shallows. No one had ever cleaned it up. It would cost too much. I called Cantrell, Magda said. Twice. Once on a cell, once on an orb. No answer. Dylan Cantrell was a bit of a wimpy weasel, but he wasn't all bad. Magda hoped he was okay. Keep trying, Lincoln said. About 2 hours of sunlight left. It'd be nice if you can find out what the fuck is actually going on. If she found out. Now hold on a damn minute, Magda said. What the hell? Her words trailed off. Maybe Lincoln was stressed. Billy could be a lot. And so could Dragon. And a run with a new van, well, it was all a lot. Link had been busting his ass for months. Magda, of course, stayed in the church. Doing good work, sure, and selling copious amounts of t-shirts and swag, yeah, but not putting herself in harm's way. Never mind, she said. I'll stay on it. She noticed Billy glaring at her, or rather, glaring at Lincoln. Thanks, Lincoln said. Sorry, Mags. I didn't mean to snap like that. I haven't had a lot of sleep. Lincoln, too, had noticed Billy's glare, it seemed. Don't worry about it, Magda said. Billy, you do the pre-flight on the mess? Billy lit up. He always wore his emotions on his sleeve, that was for sure. Hell yes, I did, he said. I love that you put your voice in there. Real clever. I'm telling you, that shirt is going to be hot. Yeah, Lincoln said. It's going to push units. He sounded like a dork trying to fit in with the cool kids. He was trying to make up for his earlier dickhead comment, which warmed Magda's heart. The only time Lincoln didn't sound like a dork was when fighting time rolled around. Then, usually sounded like a badass, because that's what he was. Lincoln glanced to the sky. Through his eyes, Magda saw the distant speck that was Shitbird soaring high above. Someone's coming, Lincoln said. He put the orb into his cloak. The orb was only so Billy could hear her. It didn't change her connection to Lincoln. Magda saw what Link saw, heard what Link heard. And through his eyes, Magda saw something coming. Something very, very dangerous. Stormy sound. Billy had never been to Bendelson Swamp. Kind of sad, considering it was only 2 miles from Teawood. Kids in Tollingwood didn't get out much. He had grown up with people who had spent their entire lives in a 10-block radius. The swamp, as this neighborhood was known, was a weird place. A bunch of rotting wood and crumbling stone buildings beneath the south side of the 6-lane Bendelson Bridge. Being down here was a study in simultaneously viewing 3 centuries. The ruins of Bendelson from the late 1800s, flooded with thick reeds and trees. The suspension bridge, built in the early 1900s, its rust-spotted iron and steel pillars painted aquamarine, its truck exhaust-stained cables painted white, and downtown's 80-story Prism Center Tower, finished in the 2000s, shining like a giant gemstone that dominated the city's skyline. Homeless people camped under the north side of the bridge, and some at the very base of the south side. But the marshy conditions here were such that only the most die-hard and desperate homeless people tried to take advantage of the flooded old ruins and the wide marsh. No homeless here now, though. There was evidence some had been here recently. Some waterlogged clothing, a few soaked wooden pallets people had tried to use to stay above the water line, empty spray paint cans for huffing, and plenty of trash, but they had left. Or had been eaten, maybe. A place where homeless people should be, but were not. That added to the creepiness of the area. Lincoln had parked the van in the bridge's shadow, at the very edge of the last bit of dry land. A dirt access road led down from the closest street some 40 feet up the concrete and boulder-strewn slope that supported the Cranwedge Causeway. Down that same dirt road came something Billy had not expected to see. An old VW Beetle, white, with a black 53 and a white circle on the hood, atop red and blue pinstripes that ran down the hood's left side. "We got trouble," Lincoln said. "This guy's name is Ice Pick. Don't let Dragon out of the van. I mean it. And whatever you do, do not reach for a weapon." The tone in Lincoln's voice told Billy now was not the time to test boundaries. Ice Pick. Billy had heard Bingles mention the guy once, when Lincoln had taken Billy to Cordis. What had the sex gnome said? Something about Ice Pick being a real pro? The VW crunched to a stop about 20 feet from Lincoln and Billy, who were about 20 feet in front of their van. Billy heard an old song playing from the driver's side open window. A haunting string section. A clear voice. Nights in White Satin, maybe? By some blues band or something like that. He knew of the song more than he knew it. Weird title. Satin wouldn't offer much protection for a night. The music stopped. The door opened. When it did, Billy saw the blurry shimmer of what lay beneath a meshwork overlay. The car was a big steel army helmet or something? Then it was a white VW again. Strong magic if Billy couldn't see through it. Real strong. A man stepped out. Unfolded out was more accurate, like a praying mantis might unfold from a hiding spot. Polished black cowboy boots, a gleaming silver skull on the flat toes, black jeans, fingerless black leather driver's gloves, black leather trench coat, dark gray turtleneck sweater, thick framed black glasses, a salt and pepper goatee. Everything fit him like it had been made for him. Slick. "Okay," Billy said quietly. "That is one cool-looking motherfucker right there." "Shut up," Lincoln hissed. "Don't talk." Lincoln casually flipped his cloak to the side. That gunslinger shit he did when he got all Clint Eastwood. The man shut the car door. "Lincoln, it's been a long time." Link nodded. "Not long enough, Pick." The man, Ice Pick, smiled. His left incisor was silver. Silver with a tiny diamond in it. Really fucking cool, but Billy kept that thought to himself. "Come on now, Lincoln," Ice Pick said. "You're not still mad I shot your ear off, are you? That was years ago." "You didn't shoot it off, Pick. You nicked it. It healed." "Sure bled a lot for a nick," the man said. "Aren't you going to tell me it was a lucky shot?" Lincoln shook his head. "I know better." Ice Pick grinned wide. "Marvelous. It's good for a man to know his betters." Lincoln growled low in his throat. One of those noises he made without realizing it. Billy had heard that noise a couple of times in training, when he had landed a really good shot on Link, or come close to choking him out. Bad things happened after that sound. "This spot is claimed," Lincoln said. "We got here first." Icepick's smile faded. "You want to draw for it?" Just like Lincoln had, Icepick casually flipped his trench coat aside, revealing a weird holster on his left hip. Black leather, of course. 4 thin, round metal handles jutting up from foot-long, thin leather sleeves. "No, I don't," Lincoln said. "Professional courtesy, Pick. We were here first. You start shit, one of 2 things will happen, and both of them are bad for you." Icepick's left eyebrow rose. "The first possibility?" "You die," Lincoln said. "I suppose all things are possible," Icepick said, "no matter how unlikely they might be. The second possibility?" "I die," Lincoln said, "and the entire community knows you jumped my spot. Good luck with that. You know how many bounty hunters react to unprofessional... You know how we bounty hunters react to unprofessional people. Sure wouldn't want, say, Finish the Job Johnson to know you're a poacher, now would you?" Icepick made a disappointed clicking noise with his tongue. I gather Magda knows I'm here and will tattle on me." "Give the man a cigar," Lincoln said. "You guessed it on the first try." Icepick seemed to relax. "Fair enough. You were here first." Lincoln seemed to relax as well. Just like that, the tension vanished. This bounty hunter shit was weird. And then Billy heard the high-pitched, angry yapping of a tiny black dachshund coming from inside the van. The VW Beetle shimmered, sparkled, and it grew. Like a kernel bursting into popcorn, the Beetle morphed from a car into a turtle, a crazy turtle with a spiked shell gleaming like textured glass. Thick, mottled green legs as long as Billy's, so tall the apex's shell was at eye level. The thing was a walking tank, and the heavy head, like a snapping turtle's, lustrous, scratched, and pitted like a war-battered barbarian shield polished up after many battles. Eyes the size of Billy's fists, gleaming slits of onyx protected by metallic ridges. From the van, the dog bark changed to a dragon's roar. The monster turtle's head snapped forward, toward Billy, jaws opening wide, a steel beak that could chop him in half. The smallest slap of a gloved hand on mottled flesh. The 100-pound turtle head retracted, the death eyes suddenly wide with pain and betrayal. "Bad Herbie," Icepick said. "Bad boy. Reform right now." The giant, gleaming turtle's head drooped to the ground as if it feared being slapped again. It let out a groan, then condensed on itself. Now Billy saw the filament and meshwork spinning within the beast. Then once again, it became a white VW Beetle, tires and all, just sitting there. The van started to rock. Dragon would not stop roaring. Lincoln didn't move. The whole time he hadn't moved, hadn't taken his eyes off Icepick. The fingers of Lincoln's gun hand remained slightly curled, close but not too close to the handle of his pistol. "Most unfortunate," Icepick said. "I'll leave you to it, Lincoln. Consider this a favor. You owe me one." The bounty hunter folded back into his turtle car. That song started up again. "Yes, I love you. Oh, how I love you." And the white Beetle drove back up the access ramp. Dragon continued to roar. Shut that goddamn dog up, Lincoln said. Now, and do not let her out. Billy ran to the van and jumped in the passenger side. 15 feet of angry Chinese dragon writhed within, scratched at the back doors, trying to get out. Broken plastic, leather, and seat padding swirled like blowing snow. Dragon, stop it! She roared more, writhed more, tried biting the doors with her big head. Plastic shattered and metal crunched. Magda and Ariella would flip. The van was brand new. Billy reached between the driver and passenger seats and slapped the black scales, slapped them hard. Dragon, no! The coil of lethal muscle let out a very dog-like yelp of pain. She curled in on herself, protectively, stared at Billy with wounded black eyes that looked like they were about to shed tears. Billy instantly felt like shit. He had never hit Dragon before, in either form. I'm sorry, he said. I shouldn't have done that. Stay here, girl. Billy leaned further between the seats and kissed her nose. She sniffed, a very human sniff of sadness. He would have to make it up to her later. He got out and made sure the passenger door was shut tight. Link, what the hell was that? Was he going to throw at you? Link, what the hell was that? What was he going to throw at you? Chopsticks? Bow shurikens. Lincoln eyed the reed-filled shoreline, the musty, rotted wood of the ruins. Armor-piercing, meshwork spikes. Shurikens? It's like ninja shit. Could that guy really draw those and throw them faster than you could shoot him? Lincoln shook his head. No, but the ones he showed you were just that, for show. He's got more spikes on him than a porcupine. He is a bad man, Billy. Link glanced up to the sky. Dusk is coming soon. We need to get ready. He stepped toward the van. Billy grabbed his shoulder. Lincoln stopped. Just a sec, Billy said. What the hell was that turtle thing? And why did Dragon go apeshit? Lincoln's lip twitched. That thing was Herbie. It's a Dimortuga, diamond hard shell. Can bite a Buick in half with one chomp. Can hit 40 miles an hour in a flat-out sprint. You got to watch out for its bite because the neck is 3 times as long as its body. Billy waited, but Lincoln didn't continue. He was obviously unsure if he should go on. Right, Billy said. Go ahead and tell me the rest. Why did Dragon go nuts like that? Lincoln cocked his head. Magda was saying something to him. He sighed and he nodded. I told you Dragon was a stray I took in, Lincoln said. I didn't tell you the whole story. She was a stray because her mother was dead. Lincoln tilted his head toward the access road. Herbie the love bug killed her. I'll tell you the rest some other time. Dragon must have gotten a whiff of him. I'm not surprised she lost her shit. Now, clean up the van and make sure the damn mess still works. Lincoln strode off, peering up at the underside of the bridge. Billy felt lower than whale shit. That monster had killed Dragon's mom, and Billy had slapped Dragon for getting upset. From the van came a low moaning, one of sadness, one of loss. Head hung low, Billy walked to the van, hoping Dragon hadn't damaged the motherfucker eliminator shooting system. There we go. I don't know what happened to my Schwarmies. Yeah, everybody in the chat room, you all know. Dog looks at you like that. It's tough. Tough. Voice held out okay, but you can hear it's pretty fried. I think that's Ice Pick is either Christian Slater or Jack Nicholson, or it could be a little bit of both. We'll get that dialed in. You obviously will be seeing Ice Pick again. Baby, come on up whenever you're ready. What is going on with this stupid Shormy sound? What a bummer. I love the Shormy sound. You can hear I got the cold there. All right, let's get back to OBS. Nothing we can do about it now. Turn that off. Recluse Mage says, Scott, I hope you get some time off to let your body heal. I ain't got time to bleed. Wait, that's not Jesse Body. I ain't got time to bleed. I got to find a way to make time to stop doing characters that have gravel in their voice, though, because it takes a toll. I didn't mean for Jack Nicholson's voice to have gravel. It's supposed to have a little fry to it. It's supposed to have a little fry to it, but not a lot. I can't do it right now. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop while I'm ahead. Kim Hansen, clap, clap, clap. Cobalt, wow, that was heavy. What did you guys think of the episode? We get some backstory for Dragon, which is interesting because we're going to talk about backstory in just a moment when a real girl herself comes up, hopefully with a scotch. And we talk about how authors and creators give you the backstory without dragging you into the weeds. A has some questions. I'm going to answer them off the cuff, and we will see how that goes. Chris Grawl is going for a tactical reload, which means he too is getting some scotch. Cobalt says, great work, very emotional episode. Isn't that interesting? Like, everybody loves Dragon. Like, people love Dragon, and I get that. But we're talking about Lincoln and Billy about to go into battle against unknown monsters, and lives are on the line. Something crazy's going on with Dylan Cantrell. Nobody knows what's up. And then a 15 plus foot long Oriental dragon gets swatted once in the butt, and you guys were all like, "Oh!"
And not only that, fucking mad at you.
Yeah, say again, baby.
Not only that, fucking mad at you. How dare?
What do you?
You need to show them to me to them. How dare?
I feel bad for doing it. Push that down. Nice. Good job, babe. There we go. Look at that.
Hang on. How dare? How dare?
I just hope your mom's not still here to see you yell at me for a fictitious dragon dog. You know what? I'm not. Here's the crazy thing. I'm teasing everybody. Oh, you can't. I got you, baby. Hold on. Hold tight. Remember, we go here. How's that, sweetie?
That's good. Hey, Sean. Nice to see you.
This is a story I made up, and I continue to make up. And I like dogs so much that I feel bad writing that scene. I feel literally bad writing that scene. It is a giant 15-foot long dragon that is literally rear foot scraped people to death, bitten off heads, played in the blood.
Well,
like blood and played
terrible
in blood.
people. Here's what I have to do before I restart our deep cuts. I have to do this like, how dare.
I feel bad. I feel worse now. Thanks, baby.
Also, this is the closest we've been in like 2 weeks.
We haven't smooched in 2 weeks, you guys.
I know, because you have cooties.
I do. I got crazy cooties. Let me get this back down. People are coming. Don says cats will give you the same look. William Zapata, he says this guy gets it. Tyler says you wrote the dog in Nocturnal so well. Yes, that was my little dog for my 20s. Back in the day. Chris Grawl, cheers to everybody. Happy Wednesday. Good to see you all.
Oh,
welcome to the show.
Yeah, should I mess with this? I think.
Yeah, I blew that. It's one of the buttons. Give us a second, guys. We'll get rolling. Tyler Miller says when he's reading Nocturnal, I'll get it, baby.
No, I got it.
So I thought to myself, a dog lover wrote this while listening to it. Steve Rickenberg says, Dragon POV when? That's a good question, Steve. It's coming through the hole. Let me grab it.
Is it coming through the hole?
Yeah, it comes through the hole.
Here it is. I see. Nobody knows what that means.
It's one of the 4 buttons.
How dare.
There's 4 buttons. If you hit all 4 of them, sooner or later, that sucker's going to turn out. You're good. You're perfect.
I got to change it to the right color.
That's the one that actually keeps its settings. The other one does not, for whatever reason. All right.
I will say again, how dare.
Chris Grell's talking about his new puppy, Ricky. He says, Ricky gives me that look all the time. It's that big set. That's why they call him puppy dog eyes. But A does this thing where, I'm going to tell you this. So we're talking about dogs. A does this thing, And she does two things that absolutely just cut me off at the legs. So I
know what one of them is. I don't know what two of them
I've had
are.
dogs literally my entire life. I literally learned to walk early because I would grab our Labrador Retriever Coachy's tail, and when Coachy would get up, I would stumble along behind it. And Mom was like trying to have me not walk at that age. She's like, sit him down. He's too crazy. And so I love dogs, and I've always had big dogs. And big dogs, I think you can treat a little bit differently than
you can
small
thump.
dogs. You can
thump them.
Thump them. Also, like if you got a dog that weighs 60 to 80 pounds, you are a significant threat to that dog, but not quite the same threat you are to, say, a 20-pound dog.
Or a 12-pound dog like Squeaky.
Or a 12-pound dog. So I believe there's differences in rearing the dog. So a couple times I've fallen back into my old ways with Reese, who's my little cutie. And I'll be like, Reese, just yell at Reese. He's doing something I don't like. And then Reese just does that.
Totally
stare at the screen. Stare at the screen. And then A will come up to me like this, literally like this. And I thought things were going so well. Like she imitates the dog's voice. And so she's like, I thought things were
going so well, Papa. It felt like things were going so well.
And I never heard that phrase before. And I'm just like, oh my God, both of you shut the fuck up. Oh my God. I feel so bad. I feel bad when I yelled. And then A will be like, I just
really thought things were going so well, Papa.
I'm just going to lay here on this couch and hope Papa loves me again someday because I still love him so much.
Angela, you're totally right. How dare.
Okay. We're getting some dog rearing tips in the chat room. I think we're ready to go, baby. Ready? I already did all the keeping. Anybody who showed up after the fact, we got to celebrate when these new books come in. I'll just do this real quick.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And this one is such a great story, you guys, especially timely these days.
This book just came out, and I'm not going to lie, I like writing stories where Nazis get killed. I think killing Nazis is a great,
like there's nothing wrong with that.
Fan-fucking-tastic thing.
Literally nothing wrong with that.
Nazis deserve to die. And if I'm offending one in the chat room, I'm sorry. You're a pacifist. I get you. It's okay. This book is called Combat Monsters, Untold Tales of World War II. You can find that at all the links at scottsigler.com/combat-monsters. I've got links to Amazon, autographed copies from Mysterious Galaxy, which will be signing in about a week, Audible links, Barnes & Noble link, Apple Books link, and just a lineup of murderous authors in this. Peter Clines, Tanya Huff, Jonathan Mayberry, David Mack, Jeremy Robinson, who's killing it these days, Catherine Stein, Harry Turtledove, Jane Yolen, and others.
Wait.
That's right, Harry fucking Turtledove. What's up? What?
No, that's the thing. It just deserves that much. Are you shitting me? How did I not know? Are you in an anthology with Harry Turtledove?
Yes. It might not be my first one. I don't have a good memory, but I'm in this one. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's awesome.
Stop saying anything. I have to move this.
I should actually talk over that.
Well, it's to make it easier for Steve. He said make that mic closer to me.
Got it.
We're doing that.
Good job, Steve. Appreciate that direction, bud. Okay, so that is it. Let's go back to Maine. And it's a really good anthology. I haven't heard all the stories in it, but hopefully I will soon.
Also,
but it's fun because we haven't had a new thing out in a very long time.
Also, I absolutely love Steve. We work together every single day. But he also just put in the chat room, you're listed above Harry Turtledove, which I'm going to accept on factual information, but I'm so excited about that because if anybody does not know who Harry Turtledove is because they're young enough or whatever, and they buy this book for anybody who is younger than he is and actually read one of his stories, it opens up a whole new world for you. It opens up, legacy, legend stories for you. And I love that. Yep. I'm so excited about it.
Okay, now that we will say once again, Nazis are awful. And killing Nazis make for wonderful fiction. Wonderful fiction. Let's get ready to rock and roll.
Also,
do you have something to say?
My high dog is squeaking in the next room.
Squeaks.
Should we open that door?
I'll take care of it.
Okay.
Vamp, dude.
So I mentioned in the chat room, but our dog Squeaky today had her teeth cleaned and her annual exam. And she's fine. She didn't have any extractions. She had a great exam. Everything is good, but she gets anesthetized for that, and now she's kind of crying
I'm just going to give
you
for one view.
She's a little stoned
Hold on.
still.
Let me get the dog bags.
Yeah, she's a little stoned. Hi, mamas. Well, yeah. See,
We can't have her whining through the whole show.
I am
Let's
legitimately
start the
her
podcast
favorite
and
thing
shit.
on earth, and she's like, "What? Where?" Even though I am
Lay down.
physically holding her. Hey, mamas. Hey, mamas. Right here. I'm right here. Nope. Nothing.
Okay, babe, we got to start motivating.
Nothing. She's right here. Come here.
Okay, here we go.
Thank
Okay,
you
guys,
for
now we're going to
bearing
get to
with
the
us.
content. Let's go. Everybody loves to see the puppies. Okay, ready, sweet?
Yeah.
You just set it right here. You got her? Okay. If she whines, we'll just we'll kick her in the face.
Wow.
Show comes first.
She is absolutely stoned on. She's having such a rough. She did great, but she's having a
Why
rough
did Billy
time coming
hit
out.
Dragon? That was mean.
Well, because sometimes you're so stressed out, I think, like I've had that happen before.
Oh,
You're
sure.
so stressed out that they're going to run into the street or they're going to do something that is dangerous for them, that you kind of get outsized emotions and, you know, and I think that's probably what happened.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to get into deep cuts. My voice will probably hold out long enough to do this. And of course, Deep Cuts is the bonus episode of the Scott Sigler Slices podcast. No story content in this one from here on out, but we hope you guys hang out in the chat room. We think you're going to find this to be very interesting. You want to set that timer, sweets?
Sure. Is this ready? Because this looks like it's your
Oh,
story.
fuck, you're totally right. Yeah, you're
So
totally
I'll
right.
still vamp.
Vamp some more.
So Squeaky
I'll
is
give you the
fine.
chat.
She did a really good job. I brush her teeth a couple of times a week. She also had a dental moment 2 years ago where she had to go to the vet. So her teeth are in great shape. Reese's teeth, she had a couple of losses. She's older than Squeaky. That happened a couple of weeks ago. So now they're both ready to go. Absolutely going to have their teeth brushed a couple of times a week, starting, Saturday. They're not excited about it at all. I've already tried. They don't enjoy greenies. They don't enjoy any kind of teeth brushing treat. I just have those fingertip little things that I have to do their teeth with. They don't love it. They don't hate it, but they don't love it.
Here we go.
But that's what we're going to do, unfortunately, the whole time.
What you want to do? I want to shoot. Okay, here we go. Solo record.
All right.
Let's hit record.
Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Save
Do
it
you
first,
hear me?
peanut butter. Hold on.
What now?
Here we go again. Girls, listen, weakness, men. Okay, then. Chilling, minding my business. The brother going on, I couldn't believe it. Wicked. Had to kick it. I'm not shy, so I asked for the digits. Make sure I got it. Okay, check, baby, check.
Hey, check, baby, check.
Okay, let's go.
All
Set that
right.
timer.
I'm going to set that timer. And 3, 2.
The Rebel Alliance and the Empire were already at war when Star Wars Episode 4 started, so how did George Lucas bring the viewer up to speed on that conflict's history? In other words, a book, a movie, a comic, a game, all storytelling involves background info that the characters know because they live in that world, but the reader or viewer doesn't know because they don't live in that world. So how do storytellers give you that background info without slowing the story down or boring the reader?
In other words, how do storytellers get to the good stuff quickly and keep those info dumps entertaining? We'll discuss right after this quick break.
Welcome to Deep Cuts, the bonus episode of the Scott Sigler Slices Fiction Podcast, where a sci-fi author and an audiobook narrator discuss things and stuff in the world of fiction and pop culture. I am Scott Sigler, sci-fi horror author known far and wide as the future Dark Overlord.
And I am A.B. Sigler, audiobook narrator and publisher. And on this week's Deep Cuts, we're talking about exposition and info dumps. Those sometimes boring things you have to tell the reader or viewer so the story in its entirety make sense.
A reminder, this is a bonus episode in the Scott Sigler Slices feed, not part of any particular story. You don't have to listen to this to keep up on any story, but we think you will enjoy what the hell we're about to talk about. So let's get into it.
Mm-hmm. So you guys all know what we're going to start to talk about, but we've seen it done well. We've seen it done poorly. We've seen it done for camp when somebody says, okay, here's what you need to know. But there are things that you need to know. If you're just coming to a story that is 5 parts into 7 parts, or if you are coming into a genre,
even a brand new story,
a brand new story that has like a mythology to it or anything. Like if you're legitimately meeting a story for the first time ever that has Zeus in it, for example, and you yourself only know Zeus is an Olympian god, and you need downloads because he's, literally walking in downtown LA, but he's Zeus. You need to know how that affects people. And this is a very difficult thing. And you specifically hate this artifice. You, I believe, hate any artifice in your stories. It's hard for you. You don't like to see it. You don't like to read it. You don't like. You don't like to have artifice in stories. But stories are artificial. So we're going to talk about that today for you.
Great. Let's go.
First thing we're going to talk about is you dealing with artifice in things you consume.
Okay, let's get into that.
A couple of days ago, last Thursday, we went to the theater. I have a theater degree. Scott is married to me, and one thing he does super well is like, A loves theater. We're going to go see the theater. And sometimes, and he lets me pick the plays, but sometimes he goes on that date night and his whole job is A loves the theater and I love her and I am being present and supportive and here because A loves the theater. This past week, we went to see Appropriate at the Old Globe. And Appropriate really pulled him into the story. He was there the whole time. And I don't think that had any exposition, really. So how did that story drag you in?
Well, first of all, this is a play. I don't know who wrote it off the top of my head. And maybe you can look that up on your phone. But we saw this at the Old Globe Theater in San Diego. If you ever get a chance to see a production at the Old Globe Theater in San Diego, magnificent facility, magnificent staff, really, really top grade stuff. Touring shows, wonderful. Appropriate is about a disparate family who has to come together when the patriarch of the family dies and they have to divide up what's left of the family's empire. So you've got 3 different children, all with their different significant others, all coming back to deal with what's going on. And I won't give you any spoilers, but it turns out Pops was not that good of a dude. He already wasn't a good dude to these kids, and turns out he's a worse dude than they thought he was to begin with. This was written by Brandon, is that right, babe?
Yeah,
Brandon Jacobs Jenkins. If you get a chance to see it when it comes to you, highly recommend it. It was phenomenal. Let's get into A thought there was no exposition in this. It was full of exposition.
Really?
The whole first act was nothing but very deftly layered exposition. Of course, it's a play, so it's all done by dialogue. A tiny bit by the set dressing.
Sure.
Which was an old plantation that has fallen down, and clearly the patriarch was a hoarder. That's all you get out of the set. Everything else was done via dialogue.
Yeah, and that is true. I will also add, this is a plantation era estate in Arkansas that was also, it's a modern day story with a property that was plantation era that also was a plantation. So it's modern day, but it's dealing with things on that property from back in the day.
So the way a play has to do it is all via dialogue, which that is how the best exposition is done. The way to subliminally feed the audience information on a history of the world that you are in is very subtly via dialogue. Now, saying that, there's this trope that goes back to the Moby Dick days, as someone in our chat room just pointed out, where character A will tell character B and C things that character B and C already know. As you know, Dr. A, mitosis is a process by which cells divide. And as you've clearly proven by your own research, when that division goes unchecked, that can be a cancerous development. This is how things were done back in the 20s, the 30s, etc.
But you were saying that didn't happen in this, not mitosis. Exposition happened, but not that way. Hey, Dr. X, let me tell you about mitosis. So tell me how that exposition happened in the play that we saw, because I didn't see it the same way.
In modern storytelling, you don't say things like, as you know. You don't say things like, I have read your research paper and let me cite your paper to you, which if you go back and watch them or other old 30s and 40s movies, monster movies, that is endemic throughout the art form. So now that has changed because that has been irritating. So now it is more like I'll try and paraphrase the play as quickly as I can so we can move on to some other things. But in the play, it's like, oh, look, it's dad's old war relic musket. And like, yeah, I'm surprised it still works after what you did. And then now a seed has been dropped into the audience. Like, wait, what did they do to the musket? And in modern storytelling, that's a Chekhov's musket at this point. You know something's up with it, but you leave it for 4 or 5 minutes or 10 minutes later, or maybe even the next act, because now you've hooked the reader. The reader understands this particular setting, prop, person, place, or thing is very important to the history of why we are watching this particular story. So that's hooks that the reader gets into you. So you are on the edge of your seat waiting to hear what these things are all about. And this play was some of the best layered writing I've ever seen. I try to call my stories like a satanic Seinfeld episode. I give you all this different stuff, and it's only in the final act or in Seinfeld, the last 2 minutes, that you get to see how they all sort of come together. This was very good at that. So, sum it up, a lot of exposition nowadays is done via dialogue. And it has to be subtle because it's exposition and character development all at the same time.
So, for you as a viewer, consuming entertainment, in a perfect world, how would you like that information to get downloaded?
As a consumer, the way I enjoy things is I don't want to see a Wikipedia entry on a page. As a reader, I don't want to see like, hey, here's these 18 paragraphs on the history of the world. What people do a lot in fantasy writing and sci-fi writing is newspaper clippings, excerpts from books that they'll put in the beginnings of chapters. That's sort of a kludgy way to do things, but it does work. The way I like to do it, I like it to be done via dialogue, but not via announcing things that the people in the world already know. That's where the skill and deftness really comes in, that you have to work in a dialogue. You are revealing points about the world, teaching the reader what the world is, and at the same time, doing that through the view of the character, the character's view of a particular topic. Character A gets salty with character B. During that salty exchange, you're learning a lot about the history, but no one's saying like, here are 18 paragraphs of nonfiction for you to consume.
The reason I asked for that, first,
Continue. That's our dog.
The reason I asked for how you like to consume it, first, is to say he likes to see the characters on screen having interactions and getting information, even if it goes from character to character and questions come into play, and then there's a natural progression of information sharing. What we often see, which he also mentioned, is somebody saying, oh, I read about this online, and then just talking for 2 hours or 20 minutes about whatever. And that doesn't get as good into, it doesn't share as well the information that is easy to consume in smaller bites. If you give somebody like a 5-minute exposition, it doesn't do the same thing.
Okay. What else we got? So that is basically the way I prefer to see things done. I prefer to see things done via conversational exchanges between characters. In a book, I don't have the set dressing of, like a Harrison Ford sci-fi movie. I don't have Blade Runner around me to show you like, this is the future and things are very advanced technology-wise. You can show some of that in a book, or in a comic book, it's easy. But in a lot of forms, you have to do it via dialogue, via characters.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a handful of questions about how you would do it moving forward, knowing that you just don't want to give 5 or 10 minutes of exposition. There are several tools that writers can give to their characters in audiovisual, any format, in just writing, in just visual, whatever. And there are some of those things that you can add layered nuance to. The first one I'm going to ask about is maps, since we have a galaxy map.
Maps, yes. So in fantasy, and sometimes in sci-fi, occasionally in thrillers, a map in the front of the book, rarely in the back of the book.
Oh, in the front of the book?
A lot of maps, most maps are in the front of the book, like the Game of Thrones stories. The map starts out on a particular area in the Game of Thrones world, and then starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger in the forward books as you start to look at a bigger part of the world. So a map is a wonderful way for any print or digital print medium for you to see, like, now I can see where everything is in relation to each other. Fantasy novel, here's the mountains, here's the ocean, here's these two nations, here's these. I know these things are going to interact with each other, but I don't know how yet. But when you get to those points, when you're talking about Dravos versus Miros, for example, you stop, you flip back to the map, and then you can see where these things are in relation to each other, and you get a bigger world view. So maps are very useful. Spaceship maps, deck maps. Yes.
And stop. So you're saying, as a reader, when I come to a moment like that, I can pause it, hold my place, and flip back to the front of the book. Have you done that?
Excuse me. Sorry. I've done that in Aliens Phalanx, Generations trilogy.
Wait. I meant as a reader. But also talk about as a writer. Because, of course, there is a map in Aliens Phalanx.
As a reader, a map might as well be a centerfold of Cheryl Teague's bearing it all. I love a map in a fantasy novel. I don't like a fantasy novel that doesn't have a map, because we're making this entire world up. We need to know where things are at. In a science fiction novel, if the ship is a central character to it, I would like a map. I don't need a map for that because I can kind of visualize a ship. But maps are a wonderful, wonderful thing to me. I had to go to war with the publishers of Phalanx. Like, I don't give a crap if it's an aliens novel.
Really
we need a map, dude. Figure it out. We got to have a map on this.
Also for Ancestor.
Yes, we did have the eye on the back of our Ancestor.
But you had to work for it the whole time. That was when we first started to work together. Like, we were just a year into, and he was saying, we need a map in that book. I don't care how it happens.
Now, Tyler Miller in the chat room points out, audiobook listener. That is a good point. Because if you're listening to Game of Thrones in audiobook, it's a wonderful production, you don't have that reference. People are now knowledgeable enough to know, I probably can I can Google this map and find it and can see the map. A lot of audiobooks now are also, they will tell you in the beginning of the audiobook, if you want to see a map, here's the URL. If you want to see this information, you want to see a glossary, here's the URL. Because you can't, we're going to get to glossaries, I imagine, in a second.
Yeah, in a second.
What you can't do in an audiobook is start out with 15-page glossary of just reading terms. So maps are great.
But I do want to say, since he brought it up, for audiobooks today, for audiobooks that were made in the last 20 years, they're going to have a PDF companion that you can download
Often,
or
yes.
look at, or you can just Google and go to the author's website and see. And that's new. That's not all books ever, but in the last 20 years, you can totally do that.
Okay.
Listen, we have to take a short break.
Short break.
If you guys can listen to the ads that you hear right here, that would be wonderful for us. It helps us. If not, we'll see you when we get back. I think
Great job. That's the best.
Biddy might be in there, is the problem.
No, she's right behind you.
Oh, good.
She's
just
literally
doesn't
behind you.
look
Just
at
don't even look at her. You look at her, she knows you're there, and she gets
Okay,
crazy.
that's fair.
She gets crazy. That was that's the best outro you've done into the break. Very good job.
Thank
Ready?
you.
But remember when I got here?
I got that.
Do that.
Yep.
Okay,
But-
here we go.
Right.
Wait. Sorry, guys. Welcome back to Deep Cuts.
This episode, we're talking about how storytellers share background info without slowing the story down.
Cool.
Now, you did say, and I do want to move on, there are other things.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about a glossary next, because a
Ooh,
glossary in a novel, especially a first novel that we know is going to be a series, is so important. And so are audiobook listeners. So how do we do this? How do we do what good effect is a glossary?
Well-
and how do you commute that to an audiobook?
So, first we'll talk about glossaries in a print novel. Far future sci-fi, galaxy-spanning sci-fi, hard sci-fi will often have a glossary in the back. Fantasy, most of the time, will have a glossary in the back. Something.
Sorry, let me have that mouse.
Got it. Fantasy will often have a glossary in the back because you're dealing with a lot of terminology and new languages, etc. Those are great in a print novel. In a print novel, because you can literally stop, keep your thumb here, flip to the back, look it up, see what it is, flip back in. In a sci-fi novel, in The Crypt, Book 1, Shakedown, there is a very extensive glossary in the back because we are 600 years in the future, and I want to be able to convey terminology and technology are different. Political organizations and nations are very different. I need people to be able to see what all works. Also in our glossary for The Crypt Shakedown, what's the rank structure like? You know, it's not just going to be the U.S. Army rank system 600 years from now. Things are going to change. You need to see how things interact. What are uniforms? What do these symbols mean, etc. This is all great stuff in a print book. Fabulous. Would recommend 10 out of 10. In a ebook, it's a little bit harder. In an ebook, you have to figure out where you're at. Go to the back to look it up.
Bookmark.
You can you bookmark?
You can't bookmark.
Maybe you can. I'm not that good with ebooks. I'm old. But in ebook, you can't say like, I'm here. Anybody in the chat room, tell us if you bookmark an ebook to go check the glossary, which is in the ebook, and then come back to your section. I want to see how you guys do that. So in an ebook, it becomes much more cumbersome unless you're ebook reading with a second screen that has the companion PDF that I mentioned earlier, and you can see what all of this stuff is. In an audiobook, it's a train wreck.
Mm-hmm.
In an audiobook, you have to go back to relying on the strength of the writing, being able to introduce things 1, 2, 3 times in different ways so that hopefully the reader either remembers that stuff or the reader tunes out like, I don't care about these chunks. I'm just not going to pay attention. I'm going to be doing the dishes. I don't care. All of those are acceptable things. So a glossary, while incredibly powerful, becomes difficult in an audiobook.
For sure. I will say there's a third version of an audiobook or a map or something in an ebook, which is, I absolutely care about this, but I'm going to look at it later.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to look at it once we're past this tumultuous moment in the story and maybe at a chapter break or something. Then I'm going to go back and check the ebook that came or the PDF that came with my audiobook.
Joseph Aldred in our chat room says, wait, he was just there. Oh,
yeah,
he says you can bookmark it and go back and forth. So we have a chat room if you're listening to this in audio, because we do this as a live stream every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. You can join us in the chat room, watch us live at youtube.com/Scott Sigler, facebook.com/Scott Sigler, or twitch.tv/Scott Sigler. We would absolutely love to have you.
And Tyler Miller, you say, I think that's the charm of a physical copy. Now I need to get the paper form of Phalanx.
Yes, you do.
Aliens Phalanx.
Yes, you
and
do.
also the Crypt. So I will tell you, Aliens Phalanx and the Crypt, if you Google those, you may find the physical copies are difficult to find.
Mm-hmm.
If you have that problem and you absolutely want to possess a physical copy, you know the answer. You email info@emptysat.
Info@emptysat. Now, in the chat room, Michael Moore says, Siglerpedia is a helpful resource.
It really is.
Siglerpedia is a wiki that covers everything in my particular universe in the Siglerverse and all of my stories. You can go there to look up stuff on mine. But MediaWiki is everywhere. There are all kinds of wikis. If you're listening to an audiobook of a very popular series and you don't know what something's going on, I highly recommend Google the name of the series and wiki, and you might be able to look this stuff up on your phone while you're listening to the audiobook on your phone and get the same experience as somebody going through a paperback novel. But to get to the topic of our conversation today, the purpose of a glossary is so I don't have to hammer people 17 times to understand that captain in the Crypt universe only refers to the commander of a vessel. There are other ranks that denote how they rank in the hierarchical structure. Because I have a glossary, you can look that up. Because I have a wiki, you can look that up. But if you don't have those things, it's hard to communicate that to people so they know the difference.
And often when you're seeing something that an author calls, as has always been the same with submarines or has always been the same with eldritch gods or something. And these are like keystone phrases like submarines or eldritch gods. You can Google that and kind of get a reference to what they're talking about if there is not a specific thing. And that happens often with any story that might call in other gods from pantheons past or whatever, like Olympic gods or Roman gods or any of those things. So that if you have those things showing up, like if Zeus shows up in your story, you can probably Google that yourself. What's happening? Okay. And that said, the same...
Just keep talking.
Oh, a similar thing is happening with some of Scott's stories. He's sort of talking about... He's trying to solve a problem with our...
Snap in. It's the monitor thing. Okay, so say finish up and then transition back to me because it's great fucking shit in the chat room.
Okay, so if you are reading a story that references sort of bigger life influencing stories like eldritch gods or whatever, you can just Google that and then check back into the story. That doesn't have to be your author giving you his experience or her experience with that pantheon. Yeah,
there are some pantheons that have completely elevated beyond the creator. Cthulhu is a prime example. Star Trek is another. Star Wars is another. All of that information is available. If you're reading a Star Wars novel and you see something you don't understand, you can Google that shit and you're going to get all kinds of notes, whether that's a glossary for the book or not. What else do we have in the category of
So
info
there's
dumps?
a thing where it's not wildly available online like a Olympus pantheon of gods or something that I also need specific information about, like an AK-15.
Oh, weapons.
Or an AK-47. And specifically, the reason I'm asking you those both things is to ask how you must have sources you trust. And I want to know how you get that and how we can trust them.
There's two angles on what A just asked. Let's just focus on weapons and technology. Okay. If it's modern day, if it's a thriller, there is a certain contract between the reader and the author or the creator to be like, we're going to be accurate with these modern day firearms. That holds true for a lot of creators. For many creators, it does not. You can watch any number of shows on network television, any number of movies where a 6-shot revolver will fire 27 times because those storytellers don't give a shit, and their viewers largely also don't give a shit, and they're very, very happy, being in that ecosystem. But there are consumers who know a lot about firearms.
Oh, I don't know.
And if you use a particular firearm and you don't demonstrate its use correctly, well, that can lose a lot of your listeners. Chris Grawl, who's one of the people in the room right now,
who helps you,
helped me a ton. Has written a nonfiction book called, what is it called? I have it right here somewhere.
Trigger Guard.
Trigger Guard.
So
Trigger Guard is the thing a writer can use to get accurate information very quickly, just the amount you need to write the book. The flip side of that is, if you're a programmer, or you're a person who makes computers at home, you're a 3D printer, you're an actual person who's been in the military and served with these weapons. It's very easy for a writer-creator to go too deep. And
like I was just doing,
a reader like A, who's like, it's a gun. She doesn't fucking care. You can put in so much information on it and you will lose some of your other viewers. So it's a matter, because what people really care about is character. You need just enough information that the people who know what you're talking about, you don't lose them. So guns and technology are a thing where you a storyteller has to have a very light footprint on those things. But if you're doing modern day stuff and it's Googleable, Google becomes your glossary. Google becomes your map, your reference.
But what you just said is totally true. You can do a light step that is still an accurate step in case people want to learn more about guns, about gods, about medical procedures, whatever. You can step lightly so that somebody who understands how a weapon works says, yeah, that will only hold 15 rounds unless you do something to like put a different magazine or whatever in.
Yes.
And still collect all the, I don't mean to say collect, but like keep engaged all the readers who are like, I don't know how guns work, but that sounds accurate. But also sounds accurate for somebody who does know how guns work.
This gets back into the fact of why info dumps and expositions are so important. Why info dumps and expositions are so important is because they have to be done the right way. Because if you go too deep, if you do too much exposition, if you do too much info dumping, it damages the story for the casual reader or the casual viewer. So that's why these things are so important. Why somebody brought up Moby Dick earlier in the chat room.
What did they say about Moby Dick in the chat room?
I'll get to that in a second. I got to focus. Moby Dick in the chat room bringing up, there is so much ham-fisted exposition, pages and pages of one guy talking, literal 18 paragraphs in a row. And in the olden days, if somebody was giving you a long list, they would just have one person talking for 27 paragraphs. You knew they were still talking because at the end of the paragraph, there were no end quote marks. There were quote marks at the beginning of the paragraph. So this style of storytelling has changed. This big, long exposition, because in modern storytelling, you don't need that much exposition. So you got to keep things short. Bottom line is, girl walks into the office with a gun. That gun can kill the private detective. That girl is super angry. She's got mascara streaks down. Her hair's a little bit frayed. But man, her outfit is stylish, and that's clearly a $1,000 outfit. But one of her heels is broken. This is the only information you need to completely set the scene. Do you need to know it's a Derringer with one of the bullets already fired? The private detective doesn't need to know because he's looking down the barrel of this gun from a very angry person. That's why we're discussing the exposition needs to be just enough so that people stay in the story.
And I feel like this is a fascinatingly difficult thing to do because I almost never need more information or all the information I think I know. And yet sometimes if I don't know enough, like if somebody like walks into a room and they take out katanas or something, I'm not sure if that is going to be able to solve the... Oh,
I got that. That brings up a great point.
Okay.
So in Slay, in this series we're doing right now called Slay, book 1 is out and book 2 is going to be out very soon in 2025. Slay is an homage to buddy cop movies, to 80s and 90s action movies, and also karate movies, ninja movies, all that stuff. We're trying to make characters who have their own unique weapons. But a reader like A might not give a shit that this is a spear with a long blade. It's a halberd versus, a naginata. She doesn't care. But the people who know this stuff, you got to get it right for the people who know this stuff, but you got to keep it quick, skim off the surface. Yeah.
So I don't know what a halberd or a naginata is, so I'm going to ask you the question. If I am absolutely engaged with Slay, what is now book 3, every single moment I can hear it, if I have to listen live, and I don't care about a weapon.
Okay.
How do you keep me invested and also keep the people who know what a halberd and a naginata is? Halberd.
That is, and Chris Grawl, again, in our chat room, who's like, the type of gun doesn't matter unless it matters later, right? The type of hand-to-hand weapon doesn't matter unless it matters later. So for what I do for fantasy and for urban fantasy, which is particularly where the visuals of the character are very video game-esque, very, Quentin Tarantino movie-esque, how they look and what they're wearing matters for characterization. You just name it. So I'll be like, that's a naginata. And then 2 sentences later, be like, the blade was half the length of the haft. And then that's it. Just enough that somebody who doesn't give a fuck about, somebody who doesn't know what weapons are, wants to know what color that character's pants. Because there are a lot of people like, does the character's pants match the trim on their top? There are readers who want to know that just as fucking bad as people like me want to know, like, wait a minute, is that a 17th century naginata or is that the Chinese modification of the naginata? Right? So you got to deal with people who like fashion. You got to deal with people who like hair. You got to deal with people who like makeup. You got to deal with people who like guns. You got to deal with people who like armor. You have to skim off the surface of this stuff, but not go so deep in the woods that you're only talking to a tiny fraction of your audience.
So if you were talking about a Paris Fashion Week and you said they walked down that runway wearing big legs that Anna Wintour would deny, you would need to know that that is true.
That is exposition.
But if you say, it's a complex question, but if you say, she walked down that runway as if Anna Wintour wouldn't care, it tips off me. I also don't know what Anna Wintour cares about, but assume I am.
Okay.
It would tip off me that you were like hat tipping to me with Anna Wintour, but you're still getting it right. They're not tripping down the runway. They're not changing on the they're not doing anything. I don't know a lot about fashion.
Real quick, is Anna Wintour a real person?
Yeah, she's a very important person.
Those of you listening right now who know...
She hosts the Met Gala.
Those of you who know a literal fuck ton about guns.
It's
those of you who know martial arts.
Wintour. Wintour.
Wintour.
So Chris Grawl in the Facebook chat room, who knows a fuck ton about guns, and was like, who the fuck is Anna Wintour?
So my fellow creators who are still listening, you served in the Navy and you want to go in depth about the nuclear power plant on an aircraft carrier. Most of what you are saying is me going, is Anna Wintour a real person? Because 90% of your audience has no fucking idea what you're talking about, nor do they fucking care. They want to know that the person operating the stack, why is that person's wife mad at them? That's all they fucking care about.
Yeah.
So this whole conversation about exposition and info dumps, the takeaway lesson is keep it short. If it's a lot of detailed information, move it to a glossary, move it to a wiki, make it something Googleable. Your job as a storyteller is to make people care deeply about someone who never existed. And they could give a fuck what kind of gun they have, etc. It's nice sprinkles on a donut, but it's not the donut.
And I will add this. If you can skip a rock off of that validity for right now, like you can say, they got a Glock. I knew what a Glock was before I knew him, right? Also, if somebody says Anna Wintour and the Met Gala, I know that. I don't know really what that means, but I know that. You have something to add?
I have to say there is a very popular novel. It's made a movie called Ready Player One.
Okay.
And I did not get into Ready Player One because I thought I was nerdy and knew things, but there was so much content in there that I didn't know. And I played a bunch of video games. I've watched all these movies. I've watched all these TV shows. It went so deep into the weeds. Actually, you know what? This is a pretty bad example because Ready Player One was a giant fucking huge shit of a novel. But the depth to which Klein's, was it Ernie Klein? Is that right?
Ernie Klein?
I'm trying to I get confused because Peter
Ernie
Klein
Klein
is a buddy of ours. So I get,
yeah.
Ernie Klein's went very in depth on really tiny esoteric details of pop culture that I kind of faded out on it. Great story, but I faded out on it. But going back to what we're saying, this massive diaspora of pop culture, all of it is Googleable. You can go Google anything he talks about and you can be like, oh, okay. Oh, yes, I do remember that. So that is the difference between writing something that deals with pop culture or modern day and goes back to a question Chris Grell had about there's a project I am not allowed to fucking talk about yet because it won't be out until a year I can't mention at this time because of contracts and things.
Things and stuff.
But in that story, Chris asked if there will be a map. And in some stories, I don't need to put a map in the book because you can Google Earth that map or just Google map it and you can see everything I'm talking about right there in front of you, which goes back to the conversation about you don't necessarily need a glossary if your glossary is Wikipedia.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you know your glossary is Wikipedia. If you're talking about this real mundane life, I can Google everything I need to know. What did brown shoes look like in 1972? I can fucking Google that. I don't need you to tell me that. That said, I have two things I have to say. First is for them. Second is for you. First thing is for you guys, if you are actually tuning into this episode or listening to this episode and want to know more about how a writer tries to get his book done, I would let you know that Scott has on YouTube a series called So You Wanna Be a Writer. So You, WANNA, Be a Writer.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of these, like, absolutely, this is what he does for every book, basic, every single book he does these things. The binder of information, which could be for you a website of information, getting all your information together and know what story you're going to tell, all that stuff. You can Google that on his YouTube, Scott Sigler
You just
YouTube.
Googling YouTube. So,
yeah.
So You Want to Be a Writer.
So
Sigler
You Want to
on
Be a
YouTube.
Writer. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is for you, I have a hard question.
Okay, let's go.
The question is, you've told us how you share info that you want us to gain.
Okay.
What if you have to share info that the reader must absolutely know and you don't know? If they have a pop culture history, if they have a guns or weapons history, you must share information.
This has been touched on earlier in the conversation. So if it's information that is absolutely necessary for the viewer or reader or player to get that crazy rush through the chest thrill, that what I call the holy fuck moment.
Yeah, like
if what you were doing is like if you've ever held a book in your hands and gone, no. If you've ever watched a movie and grabbed your partner in front and be like, no.
No way.
No. If you've ever been like, what? No, what? And kicked out your chair.
What do you do?
To do that is more deft. It needs a moment of explanation. Because in my work, I don't want to give it away by doing a full page of explaining this MacGuffin. So that people like Chris Grell in the chat room, like, I knew this character was valid because you spent this much time on him. It's to do it in a thriller style, which is very subtle, introduce it, refresh it, hit it a third time, but do all those in detail, then leave it alone, one more touch, then you get toward the end. The trick to that holy fuck moment, which Marvel's really good at, Marvel movies are really good, is you hit it, you skim it, and then it shows up at the end, and then you're like, the best reaction is creating an episode like, shit, I got to go back and reread this. I got to go back and rewatch this.
Yes, and that is what happens. It's this, how did I not fucking see this coming?
They told me and I missed it. And of course, The Sixth Sense, was it The Sixth Sense?
Yeah.
One of the best M. Night Shyamalan movies is The Sixth Sense.
The one.
You have to go back, you watch it once, whatever your opinion, You have to go back and watch it again. Pulp Fiction is another oldie. You watch it once, you're like, that's cool. If you go back and watch it again and you see the layering of storytelling that is involved, the answer to your question is it's subtle, repetitive, slightly detailed strokes that when you get to the end, the viewer knows the information that is being revealed. The viewer, there's no like, what you don't want is the viewer going like, what? Wait, what the fuck is that?
How did that?
What the fuck is the left-handed wrench iron? The viewer needs to be like, holy fuck, is that a left-handed wrench? Oh my God. That's the art form that takes a while to get the hang of.
Okay. Well, that was awesome. We have a combined chat room that not everybody can see. If they're on Facebook, they can't see Twitch and vice versa and all that jazz. But several people were like, I see dead people, to talk about that moment. So the answer is, if there's something that your readers absolutely need to see, you have layered it before I've ever realized that I must know. Because then when I know it, I was like, the fuck you did that. The fuck you did that. And then I have to go back and read it again.
Yep. But if that you did not fucking do that moment is like, the antithesis of that is, what? There's a difference between like, what? And like,
yeah, for sure.
There's a difference between what and what? What are you talking about? Now, some of that can be played off on those are viewers or readers who are just not paying attention. And that's fine. Sure. But for the people who are really into your story and you get to the last 20%, you're like, where did this come from? Etc. That's part of the trick, is measuring where that comes from.
Yeah, and for sure, the stories that they're few and far between, because I know before that moment that, oh my God, what moment? I have seen those signs coming beforehand, but I never see them coming in the, wait a minute, you did not tell me. You did not tell me this was happening.
As Chris points out in the chat room, there's a term for that, which is Deus Machina. That is Latin, I believe, for the hand of God, which means the creator has written...
the machine of God.
Machine of God.
Yeah.
The creator has written herself into a corner. And there's no way that the hero can survive unless, oops, that corner happens to be a magical teleport gate that will take them to the nth dimension where they will get the MacGuffin and come back and win, which happens a lot. That is the majority of Stephen King's work. Immensely popular. People love him. There's an enormous amount of that in his work. The people who read him don't give a shit. Other readers do give a shit. It really depends on who you are and how you do it.
Pam Weber in the YouTube chat room says, I recently read for the first time Project Hail Mary and loved the wait, what moment. Yeah. And I will tell you honestly, you guys, I love a wait, what moment? Because if I don't love a book, I just put it down. Right. So the moments that surprise me are books that I already loved and got surprised by in this joyful moment of the creator knowing exactly where I wanted to go and I wanted to be taken, and delivered that in a way I didn't see coming.
Okay. Let me tax your is a highly trained actress. Was back in the day. Might be rusty, but we're going to try this right now. Ready? Mm-hmm. So that moment where everything's been foreshadowed and you come across this thing like, I should have known this was coming as they told me, and now it's here and I'm flabbergasted. I want you to say, wait, what? In a structure where they have told you everything is going to be there and you sort of missed it. Ready?
Okay.
I want to hear how you're reading like.
So you're going to give me a structure that I.
No. I'm just telling you, like, you're reading one of my books.
Okay.
And you're in Red Man and you get to the end of Red Man and you're like, holy shit, he told me this was coming and I totally missed it. But now that it's here, I have that flush in my chest. I want you to say, wait, what? When you get that feeling like this is amazing. Ready? And scene. Go.
Wait, what? Wait,
now,
what?
Stop. Perfect. Now, I want you to do the exact same words. But when you get there, it's Deus Machina. And you're like, what the fuck? The corner doesn't teleport a bitch. What are you talking about?
I see what you're saying. Sure, I can do that.
The corner is a teleport gate? You didn't tell me that. Ready? And go.
Wait, what? 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 What?
Same words, but a very different emotional reaction. If you've properly done exposition and you've properly done info dumps and you've held the viewer, the reader, the player throughout the story, and then they get to the end and see everything come together versus you motherfuckers didn't tell me any of this shit.
Right.
This is a crap story. You farted this out at the end because you had to go fucking, I don't know, get a fucking Zagnut bar at the fucking vending machine. What the fuck were you doing why did I spend money in my irreplaceable time because you were too goddamn busy going to your fucking kid's soccer game that you couldn't finish a goddamn story, you son of a bitch. I'll never read you again. Very big difference.
Yeah, and that is exactly it. And now I'll be honest with you and say I have watched Deus Ex Machina stories, including the one called Ex Machina, which is a movie that they tell you right on its surface they are going to do that to you. And they do it, they acquit themselves admirably, I will say, for my own viewing. I don't not want to have a Deus Ex Machina. I just want it to be so surreal that everyone in the story reacts to it, which we see sometimes. We see in some Shakespeare, we see in Ex Machina, we see everybody be like, the fuck? And if it is not a Deus Ex Machina, if it is really a good reveal, I want those building blocks to have been there, even if most of the time I don't see them. I am almost always the reader who goes like, wait, what? And goes back and sees that I was told the whole time. And, you know, Scott does this so well. We always talk about him backspackling when he's done with the first draft. We've mentioned this to you readers that once he has the first draft, he's like, yeah, I gotta make sure all these points are well documented, subtly documented, but well documented. And that works. I will tell you, as a Scott Sigler reader, I often don't see them until the end and he's threading all those pieces together. I call it the zipper. His last 20,000 words of a story are zipping things together. And I don't often see them to then. And I see a lot of his work in progress and I still don't see it. But I'll also say I love it if I never see it. Agatha Christie novels are a great moment of this where you can see them. They're very thin on the ground right now. A lot of modern viewers and readers will be like, she didn't give us enough information. Because we live in a world where we have audiovisual information. We see so much information, but Agatha Christie wrote in a world where you got a book every 2 years kind of thing. So that was also wonderful there. But I do believe we are about done. Scott is losing his... I think you're coughing a little bit more, so I'm going to take us out. So I think that is it for us for Deep Cuts today.
All right.
Are you okay?
Yes, I am coughing.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to see if you were okay to talk.
I tried to signal A to be like, take us out without mentioning that I'm fucking coughing so bad.
And I was trying to make sure you could talk.
We got to work on our cues. So Sue said like, well, I'm going to take us out. Scott is coughing so bad. I'm like, oh my God.
None of that was
Christ.
what he
I
wanted.
literally gave you the exposition and the foreshadowing, and you get there and you're like, "What the fuck?"
I just told you I often don't. I often don't see the signs before they happen.
Now my throat.
I often don't. I just said it.
This might be my favorite episode because I'm giving you all of the information, foreshadowing the clues, giving the eyebrows, the high sign, and you're like, well, it looks like he's coughing a lot. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, because my husband is coughing, I'm going to end the show. I'm like, oh my God.
Before we go into our outro, so that you can cough a little bit more, I will say, since several of you have mentioned this was a Christmas gift this past year from Scott. This is a heart that is carved out of a Jameson bottle.
Yeah, buddy.
I am Irish by heritage, if you can't tell. And this is a Jameson bottle that was carved into a heart, and I got it from my honey for Christmas. I love it. You can find it on Etsy. I will, if any of you need the link and you love this, let me know.
Yeah, email info at empty set. Go back to me. Oh, shit. Apparently my coughing, I knocked my fucking whole gear upside.
And it is absolutely lovely. It is made of glass, so it's a little bit fragile.
This is going to get cut from the podcast. I'm just going to keep coughing, you guys.
Yeah.
I've done far more voice work than a person who has fucking not been able to breathe for 3 days can do. Oh my God. You know what that is? That's a really attractive necklace you have on right there, ma'am. I mean, it's sexy.
While you're not coughing, let's do the outro for Steve. We love you, you guys. We will see you next week.
Okay, now we're gonna
for sure.
This is the shit only you guys get to see. Let's go back to where's our outro, baby? Here. Here we go. Ready? Mm-hmm. That is it for this episode of Deep Cuts.
Next episode, we ask Scott, what were your favorite books growing up and stories growing up? And how did they inspire you?
I'm super pumped about this. I love sharing this information. But you got to come back for the next episode for that. Goodbye.
Love you guys. Bye-bye.